what's going on, guys? So we're just going to go through a few tips on how to read your programs when you go into TrueCode. So for the most part, there's going to be some videos showing you what exercises you're going to be doing and how to do them, but there's going to be a few little additions and things we're going to write down to help you go over them. So here we have just a little thing over reading your program. So we're going to go from the simplest stuff first, most of you probably know, into some of the abbreviations and kind of protocols that you may not have heard of or may not have used yet. The first one is obviously how we write weight, sets and reps. So whenever you see your program, it's going to have the weight times by the sets times by the reps. If we don't write it down like that, we will actually write in the description of your exercise or the program that we're writing it differently for a particular reason. But whenever you see three numbers, it's going to be the weight times the sets times the reps. So if you saw 50 times 3 times 5, that's 50 kilos times 3 sets times 5 reps. The next thing about exercise performance is going to be the tempo. So whenever you see these 4 brackets, it means the eccentric phase, so the lowering phase, so whether it's doing a dumbbell row, letting the weight down, doing a front squat or doing a press and controlling the weight down to the shoulder, that's the lowering phase. You then have the phase at the bottom where you're holding the lift. If this says 0, it means don't hold the weight at the bottom, go straight back up from whatever movement you're doing. If it has a particular number, it means to pause in the bottom position of the lift. The concentric phase is the raising phase. We're very, very rarely going to tell you to do anything other than try to raise it as fast as you possibly can. And then there's the isometric phase at the top. So whether we want you to hold at the top of a press, hold at the top of a row, hold at the top of your squat for whatever reason. So if you had, let's say 3, 2, X and 0, that would mean the 3 is go down for 3 seconds. The 2 is hold for 2 seconds. The X means lift explosively. And then the 0 for the ISO at the end just means you don't hold it. You just go straight to the next rep when you're ready. So the next stuff we're going to start going through is different abbreviations you're going to see within your training program. So the first one that some of you are probably not going to have been familiar with is RPE. It means rate of perceived exertion. It's a very, very simple scale that we're going to use to grade your effort and grade how hard a weight is. Okay, good, it's still going. So RPE for the Olympic lifts is going to be a little bit different. It's quite difficult to tell how difficult a lighter weight is. So we don't use 1 to 10 for the Olympic lifts, and for our strength lifts, we simply use 6 to 10. So if you have an RPE 6 lift, especially on the snatch or the clean and jerk, that's going to be something where really it moves really fast. It doesn't really feel that difficult. There's no real straining, and it kind of feels like you're still warming up. A 7 would be, it feels like a working weight, so it's probably getting towards about 65 to 70% as a minimum, but it still moves quickly, and there's not really any technical breakdown that you can feel or see. RPE 8 is kind of the threshold where you can still use really good technique. You know you're not in any danger of missing the lift, but you know that you really have to focus for it. You might even feel like you need to rest a little bit longer to fully recover. RPE 9 to 10 are going to be sometimes very, very close together. You're not always going to be able to differentiate between whether it's an RPE 9 or an RPE 10, but RPE 9 or 10 is like there's some technical breakdown. It's very difficult. You're having to just put as much energy into it as possible, and there is probably a chance you might miss the weight. Like going for RPE 10 weights means there might be more of a likelihood of missing. So RPE 9 or 10, if you wanted to equate it to a percentage for your lifts for the day, would be closer to 85 or 90% plus. Whereas RPE 6 to 7 are going to be within that range of kind of like 65 to 70, maybe 75 or 80%, within that range where you're always going to make the lift. Okay, the next one we have is RIR. It means reps in reserve. This is a really, really easy way we use to kind of tailor your efforts for some of our bodybuilding and some of our accessory exercises. Reps in reserve just means that you're going to leave a certain amount of reps in the tank. So if you saw, do 5 sets of as many reps as you can, and then the RIR afterwards says RIR1 or 2 RIR, however we've written it. That means you do as many reps as you can until you feel like you might be able to manage, let's say, 2 reps more. So let's say you do 12 push-ups and you feel like, oh, I might be able to get 13 or 14, so you stop there. That would be 2 reps in reserve. If it says 1 reps in reserve and let's say you're doing back squats at 70% of your max, you get to 12 reps and you're like, oh, I could maybe get 13th, but I wouldn't be sure about getting any more, then that means you're RIR1. So then you stop there. It's just an easy way to make sure you keep a certain amount of reps in the tank and also maintain some good technical proficiency in the lift. Okay, the next one is a very common one in CrossFit. It's every minute on the minute. We won't always write every minute on the minute. We might write every 90 seconds on 90 seconds or every 2 minutes on the minute. But all it means is you're going to have a certain timer. You might have a 12-minute EMOM, or you might have a 20-minute every 2 minutes on the minute. It means that as soon as the time has elapsed, so if it's on the minute, that means you let a minute elapse, then you hit the set of whatever exercise you have. Then on the start of the next minute, you hit the next exercise. So all it means is by the start of each minute, whether that's every other minute, every minute and a half, or every 2 minutes, you need to hit a set. So if you were to have a 10-minute EMOM, it means that in 10 minutes, you will have done 10 sets. If it's an every other minute on the minute and it's 20 minutes, then you will have done 10 sets in 20 minutes, so on and so forth. So the next one is as fast as possible. So we'll put this on some of our conditioning rounds. We might even put it on some of your strength work or on some of your Olympic lifting work to encourage you to hold the high pace. But as fast as possible just means complete the work as fast as you can, usually maintaining good form and making sure that you're being safe. As long as needed is usually something we'll put with rest or for like a time cap on certain exercises. As long as needed just means you rest as long as you need to, or you take as long as you need to complete a certain amount of work. This is where we're looking at moving for quality and not for time and not to push the pace. We might also write that instead, quality, not for time. And you'll just see that as NFT, not for time. The next thing that we want you to get used to is waves. So if you see waves written like this, where it's got 3 times and then it's got 5-3-2, or it might be 7-5-3, it means you're going to do waves. So it means that for this one in particular, you've got 3 rounds of a 5-3-2 wave, which means you would do a round of 5 reps, you'd probably go up in weight, do 3 reps, go up in weight again, do 2 reps, then you come back down because that's a wave completed, then you go up the 5-3-2 wave again. Sometimes we will do the wave with the same weight each time. Sometimes we will make it so that as the wave goes down in reps, you climb in weight. Sometimes we'll do it where each wave, you use the same weight, but you go to a higher weight each wave. So you might do 5-3-2 on 70%, then do it on 75%, then on 80%, for example. The waves are something you're typically going to see us use on our Olympic lifts, especially when we get close to peaking, that we use on our strength lifts, especially to break out of a bit of staleness, so we get to use different loads, just because it's a bit of a fun way of training. It helps to be able to get a bit of post-activation potentiation in and make sure that we really are hitting a lot of different speeds with the weight and hitting a lot of different kinds of loads. And the last one is ladders. This is usually going to be for our bodyweight work where we're looking at developing volume. So as you can see, I've written 1, 2, 3, ... That just means this is a 1 rep ladder. So you're starting at 1 and you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on, so on, so on, so on, so on. We're usually going to combine this with an EMOM or with an AMRAP of a certain time cap. And the idea is you climb as high as you can on the ladder. Then depending on what the program says, you either climb as high as you can on the ladder and stop, or you might climb as high as you can on that 1 rep ladder. Let's say you get to 10 reps. You'll then drop back down again if that's as much as you could do, and then start at 1 and climb back up again. The same thing would happen for the 2, 4, 6 wave. This is a 2 rep ladder. So you go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 12, so on and so forth until you reach your point where you can't do any more. You can't go up another rung of the ladder. Then you come back down again, depending on what the program says. The same would be if it said 3, 6, 9 or 6, 8, 12 or 6, 8, 10. Depending on where the ladder starts, we'll give you this little instruction of what number to go up in and where you start. And then you take it from there. You go as high up in the ladder as you can, and then you drop back down again. This will usually be within some of our conditioning AMRAPs and our density strength periods. So guys, that's a little guide on how to read your programs. I hope you found that helpful. This is usually going to be most of the lingo you're going to see within your program on TrueCoach. So make sure if you're confused on anything, you either ask one of us or you refer back to this video and it will tell you exactly what's going on.